and I'm struggling. It's only 3% of the way through. Hi everyone. So I realized yet again that I forgot to record an intro for my one video. I also don't have this framed all that well, so sorry about that. But yeah, I realized that I never filmed an intro for this vlog. So first of all, welcome to my channel. My name is Rochelle, and this video is going to be a bit of a vlog where I go through a lot of arcs that I had. I had a lot of arcs that just were building up, and a lot of them happen to be releasing around the same time, whether or not they were in April or the beginning of May. So I figured we would do a little bit of a reading vlog where I go and get through these books, but also where I could share some of my thoughts for these books with... Totally forgot I have the window open. But so I could share some of my thoughts about these books with you all, and if you're interested in picking them up, this might help give you a better idea of what these books are about and going from there. But I hope you like it. It's a little bit all over the place. Vlogs aren't always the easiest for me to go and do because I have to piece different parts together, but also find certain b-roll and things like that. So I truly hope that you enjoy this video. But with that being said, let's get on to the arcs. Also, Peep Nuggy and Siswo. I am so behind on reading arcs. So I'm going to be reading Veil of Shadow by Gray Holborn, and I believe this comes out April 10th. So I need to get my stuff together and actually go and read it. So let's get to it. I have it downloaded on my Kindle, and we're going to do some reading. I have some snacks. I also have a mixed drink that Charles made, and yeah, we're going to do some reading. So far, I'm a little bit confused with this book. I'm 10% of the way through, and it kind of seems like the main character can almost predict someone's death and know when they're reaching the end of their life, I guess. But she kind of has this curse where everyone she cares about seems to die. And in some ways, it's kind of giving me Belladonna vibes just from that aspect with this main character seeing death and knowing that a loved one is probably going to pass, or someone that is at least close to her. And then it kind of seems like this apocalyptic kind of thing happens where the electricity goes out and suddenly people are kind of turning into paranormal creatures. So I'm a little bit confused. I've had to reread some parts a couple of times. I'm trying to get a better understanding of the world building and everything. But I will say, like, when I read kind of the apocalyptic stuff, my ears, even though I was reading this, perked up. So we'll see how this goes. I'm on chapter 3, and it says present day 6 years after the undoing. So it kind of seems like we're getting some flashbacks at this point. So we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna continue reading, and also my little drink.
Not yet. Whoop. You win. Whoop. Good catch. Good catch. Woo! Throwing toys at me.
So I'm realizing now that I never actually did recaps on any of the books that I showed while reading in this vlog. Veil of Death and Shadow, I did finish that one. I rated it 3.75 stars, and you'll hear more about that when I do my reading wrap up at the end of the month. But it had its moments. Like, there was a dual timeline and then at times dual point of views, and the dual timeline did make sense because it did kind of preface a lot of things that are going to make more sense at the end of the book. But the frequency of how many times the dual timeline happened, it kind of pulled me out of the story quite a bit and ruined the flow of things for me personally. It all made sense, and it was all really, I don't know, it all made sense. I was gonna say it was really good. I don't know if I want to say that for sure, but the ending of the book definitely left off with a cliffhanger, and I'm definitely curious to know more. When I was looking at other reviews of the book, it seems that there's another series that goes more in depth with certain things. So although you probably don't have to read it and you would be fine just reading the series without going and reading that part, it would work, it would make sense. But I feel like for me, I would prefer to have more details, so maybe I'll go into it. But overall, I did really enjoy it. I think I do want to continue reading the series. It does have a lot of spice, but the spice is in certain moments. Otherwise, it's like more lust type of things. So that was fine. It didn't bother me a bunch because it wasn't something that was on every single page of the book. And then with the Buffalo Hunter, that was such a hard read. That was such a hard read. I haven't read a lot of Indigenous author books, and that's definitely on me. That's something I would like to work on more in the future, especially just with, hi Kiko. Yeah, especially with going and diversifying my bookshelves more. Yeah, especially with diversifying my bookshelves more. So I do plan on reading more of that, more authors that have Indigenous work. It was so hard to read because of just the violence and everything, because it was a historical fiction, so there's a lot of truth in things that happened and the devastation. So it was a really hard read, and it's definitely going to be something that I will have in repeat in my brain for the longest time. So I put my review in. I think I put it as a 4.25. I feel like I can't rate it any lower than a 4. It's just one of those pieces that, yeah, is just devastating and difficult. But yeah, I can't rate it any lower and I can't rate it any higher. I think that's the final piece that I'll have on that. I just wanted to pop in and kind of give a recap on those books because I did not, and I don't want to leave you hanging for this part of my very sporadic vlog. Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang. I have, of course, obviously, I have an arc for this one, and I think what I'm gonna do is I have auto approval for it, so I think I'm gonna request the audio for it just so that I can kind of stay on track with books that I'm going through and maybe kill two birds with one stone by doing a review for the arc and for the book itself. I'm not sure if NetGalley will let me do that, but I'm hoping, so I can help with my percentage. That's gonna be the first book that we're gonna be reading on this, and then I'll go to the next one. Let's go and get started.
And Harper Audio present Bat Eater and other names for Cora Zhang.
So currently, I think I'm in chapter 5. I am 10% of the way in on this book, and so far it's really, really good. One thing I forgot when I read the synopsis is that this takes place during the pandemic, and so there's a lot of racism because a lot of people, if you're like me and lived through the pandemic, were blaming it on Asian people and saying that they were one of the causes for why the pandemic happened. So there's a lot of racism with the main character. Something that she does for work is she cleans up crime scenes. So she goes and cleans up that stuff, but her sister, who I think is her half-sister, also disappeared. And while they're working the crime scene, she finds a dead bat. And one of the things that they were being called, the Chinese, were bat eaters, and saying like that was the reason why the pandemic happened and why everything happened that way. So there was a lot of racism. And when they're cleaning up a crime scene, they find a dead bat, and Cora automatically goes and thinks about this person on the streets that ended up going and saying this to her. And she's kind of nervous that this has a connection to her sister who went missing, because another thing that's going on is there's a current thing where Asians are disappearing. And so she's now wondering if some of that stuff is all linked together. And I'm really enjoying this. This is really, really good. But I feel like I'd like to listen to this tomorrow while I work. So that's probably where I'm going to stop on listening to this audiobook right now, even though I'd like to continue listening to it. But I will, as always, keep you updated. So today was a bit of a bust trying to listen to Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang. I listened to it a little bit while I was working, but unfortunately kind of felt sick and had to go and do the rest of the afternoon as a sick day from work. I just had some really bad acid reflux, probably because I didn't get enough sleep last night, with Nugget going and waking us up to go potty. We've been trying to work on regulating her schedule for her bowels, because she likes to go and snack and eat, and we've just been trying to do different things to entice her to actually eat all of our food so she has a full tummy and goes potty at regular times instead of waking us up at like 2 or 3 in the morning. But anyway, I listened to more of the arc today, and I'm at 16% of the way through. I think I zoned out completely the last time I did a recap and was saying that Cora's sister was like missing. No, her sister was murdered. So I got the facts messed up on that, and I think I had zoned out partially when I was listening to it. So right now what she's doing is she had a conversation with her aunt. Both her aunt and her dad are trying to convince her to move in with one of them and not live on her own. And she's still wanting to be independent, having that freedom. Why does my face looks all red? Okay. I picked up Cicero, and I think I had a little bit of an allergic reaction, so that's why I have a red spot on my face right now. But yeah, so I'm going to save the rest of that for tomorrow. I do kind of want to finish reading Deathless Divide. I have this much left. However, it is not an arc, and this is supposed to be an arc vlog. I do have Hell of Fury by D. Byron, and I believe this one releases on the 18th. However, it's kind of funky on the Kindle, so this is how it's looking right now. So I might read some of that and get that started, since like I said, it comes out on the 18th, and I am trying to work on catching up on a lot of my arcs. So I think I'll have to start reading that one as well. I just feel like I have so many books right now, and I'm kind of swimming in all of them, so we'll see how that goes. Also, he was Cicero. He's so tiny. But yeah, I'll check in with you in a bit. I forgot to go and say what that book was about. So, Hell of Fury by D. Byron. For 25 years, Maddie Callahan has been the architect of her world. Every detail from her perfectly styled hair to her commanding presence in Atlantis elite is carefully curated. But her husband's return brings a chilling shift. Jackson is distant, changed. As Maddie fights to maintain control, she discovers the illusion she has so carefully constructed is cracking, threatening to expose the dark undercurrents beneath the surface of her perfect life. Okay, I totally forgot what this book was about, so I'm glad I read the recap. So I think this is a bit of a thriller mystery. Okay, we're combining words right now, so we'll see how this goes, but I'm going to start reading that, and I'll check in a bit. Okay, I'm struggling a little bit already. I'm only 3% of the way in, and the main character, Maddie, is insufferable. They're kind of doing this little brunch get-together thing, and Maddie seems like she has OCD, but that part doesn't bother me. She seems like this richy rich, hoity-toity lady where she commands, like she's the top dog of everything. And there was a fly that landed on her water glass and she was incredibly upset about it. And when the waiter came over, she's like, remove this from my sight and get me a new one and address the fly situation. And then the waiter came back, and apparently the lemon slices weren't correct or weren't lined up symmetrically on her glass. And she got so upset by it, she went to go and talk to the manager, and then was like, I'm very disappointed in the service here. And I come here constantly expecting the best. And then when she gets back to her table, the waiter has been replaced. She has a new water glass and she can continue having brunch with her friends who pretty much are terrified of her. Like, they don't want to disappoint her or upset her. And I'm struggling. It's only 3% of the way through and I don't like the main character. So we'll see how this goes. I'm still curious, but ooh, this is rough to read. Hey everyone, so I'm at 52% of Corazang, and it's good, but I feel like I've definitely been zoning out quite often and missing key details or things that they're talking about. But so far, one of the things is like, this is definitely taken during the pandemic, so it's kind of a first-hand experience of someone that is Asian and experiences a lot of racial slurs. So that's definitely a trigger warning in and of itself, especially if you're Asian and you're already kind of bothered by pandemic books. I know, yes, Fen, I know a lot of people kind of go back and forth on their comfortability with that piece, so definitely want to go and say that here. But I mean, it's good. Like I said, I'm zoning out a bunch, but Cora is kind of what I see as a little bit of a hypochondriac, but also has OCD. She is being very, very careful because, you know, it's during COVID and everything. So she constantly wears a mask. She's really cautious about doing anything that's going to expose her to various germs. And that's definitely something that is very present. She's extremely paranoid. And I mean, a lot of us during that time, we very much were. We didn't really know what to believe, what to do. We just wanted to be as cautious and careful as possible. So that's definitely something that's present with Cora. And while she's at the crime scenes of everything, she's definitely noticing that a lot of the crimes that they're cleaning up belong to Asian women. And all the while, she's just trying to live her life because she's still extremely bothered by the fact that her sister, who she cared about deeply, was killed. And the killer is still unknown. And the police and everything, they said it wasn't a murder type of thing. So she's trying to deal with that and dealing with her family members who she honestly knows she's not the favorite family member for them. And they just tolerate her. So there's a lot of pieces there. It's definitely an interesting read. Now there's a little bit more of a paranormal aspect that's getting added. And Cora's co-workers are kind of going in and helping her with certain things because it seems like Cora's getting some stuff with the paranormal going on. I'm trying to be as vague as possible because I don't want to do any spoilers of any sort. So now there's like some paranormal pieces that are getting added and also kind of tying in some cultural aspects as well. I'm definitely intrigued to see where it continues from here. And hopefully I can be a little bit more zoned in on the story and pay attention a little bit better because I feel like I'm not doing the best at that right now. So I just finished listening to Cora Zhang, and it was definitely a lot. It was so much, and it definitely is a dark book, and I highly recommend checking a lot of trigger warnings because it deals with a lot of racism. There's racial slurs. There's a lot of gore. It's just a lot, but it was really neat because there was a lot of bits of Chinese folklore that were tied into the story. And I don't want to go too deeply into it because I know some people that I'm mutuals with are planning on reading the book, so I don't want to give spoilers to them. But it was good. It just was a very, very difficult story to go and listen to. And I certainly zoned out quite a few times and had to rewind and listen to parts again, but that's on me. I feel like I'm not necessarily in a reading slump, but I just haven't been fully invested or interested in the books that I'm reading. And that might be because I decided to read 2 historical fictions at the same time, which I think was way too much for my brain. Even though both books were completely different, it still was difficult. So I feel like I need to do something a little bit more up my alley with doing a straight up thriller or even romance. I feel like that is a great way to go and split up the books that I'm reading and kind of change up the flow a little bit and make it more enticing for me. I'm going to try to figure out which one I'm going to do next. I would like to finish reading my physical book just so that's out of the way as well, because I have not started any of my Defend the TBR books, and today is April 17th, so that's not good. I need to read those books so that I don't lose any points there. So that's just a little update on the book. Like I said, I don't want to give too many horrors, too many spoilers. I decided I'm gonna rate it 4.25 stars, and as always, like, I'll go more in depth during my end of the month wrap up. But yeah, it was a really really difficult read because it highlighted so many things, like some very unfortunate real things that are still going on today and that were escalated during the height of the pandemic and lockdown and everything. So, yeah, I feel like, oh, I'm gonna need like something happy or to just kind of split up things for now. But yeah, that's a little update. And I will update you again on my next book. Good morning, everyone. So we are now on our next book for this little ARC reading vlog, and I'm reading The Enchanted Isles by Alicia E. Anderson. I just started this one last night, and luckily this will also work for Escape the Readathon. I'm on Team Hackers, and to be honest, things have just been so busy that I haven't even had time to figure out my TBR and what I'm going to read for that whole experience. And it's my first time doing that readathon as well, and I was just like, sure, I'll go into it. So we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants. I happen to see that this book, The Enchanted Isles, actually works for a couple of prompts because I have been putting it off. Basically any of my arcs I've been putting off for a while just because I've kind of been a little bit more of a mood reader, I guess, aside from also having required books from my Defend the TBR. So it's been a process, but this one releases on the 6th of May, but I need to have my review out by the 5th. So obviously you can tell, like, I'm really short on time and I definitely need to read this book, and it works out so well that it works for some prompts for Escape the Readathon. But anyway, with this one, basically our main character spent her life working on maps. She's a librarian, and suddenly her parents disappear, and it's up to her to go and look for them. And so she's on this voyage, but it seems like there's this rival ship that is also looking for something that is aligned with what she's needing to find as well in order to discover where her parents are and why they went missing. There's a lot of things on the line: her family, her kingdom, whatever Kiko's saying, if you heard a meow. And basically she has to unravel a lot of truths about the island and her past before time and her luck runs out. And it's basically a spellbinding tale of resilience, discovery, and the extraordinary power of forging your own destiny. So I'm very curious about this one. The cover is really pretty. I love how when you look at this cover, you're kind of noticing something different every single time you look at it. So I'm excited to check it out. I believe I got this one through the Nerd Fam. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm definitely curious, but I will admit I'm feeling a little bit slumpy. I'm feeling a little bit slumpy after last month's reading because we were going so strong, and then the last few books that I read really put me in a funk. Like I was telling you earlier, I had a book that I rated under 2 stars that just infuriated me. I was so frustrated with it. I was rolling my eyes. I read another book where it was a well-loved book by a lot of people, but not a lot of people were explaining a very problematic piece of the book that just really bothered me. Those books aren't even a part of our ARC reading vlog, so that's not good. But anyway, I need to read this one. Hopefully this will do better and help get me out of the funk that those other books left me in. And if not, this is going to be a very difficult reading month, so we shall see. everyone. So I don't know if I've checked in recently on the latest arc that I'm reading, but it's The Enchanted Isles by Alicia E. Anderson. And this one actually comes out May 6th, but I need to have my review out the day before, so hopefully we can go and get that done in time. I'm finally at the 50% mark, and so far I am really liking this book. It's kind of giving me a bit of Atlantis and Treasure Planet vibes, just with the fact that like the main character like has a passion. Oh, hi Nugs. We got a Nuggy Nugs. Hi baby. Hi. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the kiss. You are so sweet. Yes, you are. You're the sweetest dog. Mm-hmm. And she just gave y'all a kiss, too. Huh. Yes. Yeah, hi. Yes. I love you. Oh, those are good stretches. Yes, those are very good stretches. Are you gonna be a big baby? Yes, you are. You are a big baby. Mm-hmm. Yes. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of Treasure Planet and Atlantis, if you really like those kind of vibes, just with the fact that this book takes place on a ship and kind of exploring these islands, trying to break a curse or figure out what is causing this curse, and also finding the main character's missing parents. So there's a lot of interesting themes here, but one of the things that drew me to this book was the fact that it's kind of charting your own path or creating your own destiny. So the main character has certain expectations that are put on her, but she always feels like she's falling flat on them. So when her parents disappear and she's not given the choice by the king to go and search for them, she's kind of discovering pieces about herself, and also there's a little bit of, I don't know for sure, but right now it kind of feels like there's a love triangle. She seems to have feelings for her best friend, but then also on this voyage she's on, her ex-fiance is there. And then the captain's, I want to say commander, that might not be the right word, but there also seems to be sparks with him as well, so I'm definitely intrigued on this. And in the beginning of the book, we learn that she has an ex-fiance, but we don't really learn why they broke up or what exactly is happening there. So there's a lot of different pieces that really have me intrigued. And also the piece of the curse, which it seems like the island that our main character's on, Vivian, or Viv, there seems to be a curse where no one on that island seems to be able to have more than one kid. And if they do have one kid, it's very few and far between. So there seems to kind of be a curse on the island and having offspring and things like that, especially since the king has been unable to have any offspring during the entire time he has ruled. So there's a lot of different mysteries and pieces that definitely have me intrigued. I'm really enjoying the story. The way the author writes, her world building is so detailed, so it's really easy to go and imagine everything inside your head. But honestly, I'm very curious about the romance piece. I want to say this book is supposed to have clean or very minimal spice on romance, so I'm also wondering how exactly that's going to look. But yeah, right now it seems like there's potentially 3 different love interests, and I'm not sure which one I'm rooting for. The best friend seems interesting. He's like a botanist, and there's like some great chemistry there, great communication. Of course, like best friends to lovers is always a trope that I do enjoy. However, the ex-fiance, there seems to be a bit of enemies to lovers, and that more often than not is usually one of my favorite romance tropes. And then the commander, he kind of seems like grumpy and Vivian's sunshine. So there's a lot of different tropes that I'm enjoying, so I really want to know which one she's going to end up with, as well as figuring out the rest of the mysteries. I don't know if this is a series or if this is a standalone, but I could foresee it being a series, so I'm hopeful that if I enjoy this book that it is a series and I'll be able to continue on with reading and everything. But yeah, so far I'm having a really great time with the book. Also, sorry that the camera keeps moving. I have it on a cushion and I talk with my hands, so there's a lot of shakiness. Hopefully it's not too bad. Really enjoying this so far. I don't know if this is going to be the last book we read during this ARC vlog, but as always, you'll probably know before I do. So I'll talk to you soon after I finish the book. So I just finished reading The Enchanted Isles by Alicia E. Anderson. And I absolutely loved this book. I felt like it was so fun and adventurous. It also had like banter and cute little romances, kind of like Why Choose. It did not have a Cicero though. Did it? No, it did not have a Cicero. Huh. He's just purring. He's such a good boy. So there was adventure, there was banter, there were 3 different possible love interests, and I enjoyed so much of it. I found that I had moments where I was chuckling and laughing out loud, making very expressive faces and reactions while I was going and reading the book. I just had such a great time. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Atlantis, and also The Mummy with Evie, because our main character, she's like a librarian. She works in a library and everything. I think the exact words were antiquarian. I don't think I'm saying it right. I'll try to remember to pop it up on the screen if I can. But yeah, she kind of reminded me a little bit of Evie from The Mummy. Also reminded me a little bit of Milo from Atlantis, just with the fact that our main character, Vivian, she's trying to kind of figure out exactly her skill set, like what she's good at. She has things that she's passionate about, but she's been living up to these expectations that her parents have put on her. They'll have weird little things that they say where it just makes it feel like she can never amount to what they want her to. And so she's constantly living with this self-doubt. So when she goes on this adventure to go and look for them, she's suddenly faced with having to use her skill sets that she's had for the longest time and putting faith in her decisions. And I found it to be so good. So yeah, I think I'm probably gonna rate this around a 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, no, I definitely want the next book like ASAP. I want to know where the next adventure lies, like what happens next. I have so many questions. And yeah, it was a really great time. I feel like that was the best way to continue things on for the month of May. The month of April, I just kind of ended it in such a reading slump because the last couple of books I read were such a disappointment. So finishing this book at the beginning of May just makes me so hopeful to know what the other books are, and then I can actually log this book and escape the readathon. So I'm so glad to have something to finally contribute to that, because I just feel like I haven't added anything for my team yet. So very happy about that. I have an audiobook I need to finish, but I think that might be where we end just for this little ARC vlog, just to end things on a really good note. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that maybe I brought some books to your attention that you'd like to also check out. And I can't wait to go and do the next episode of this because I have so many arcs I need to read. So as always, I want to remind you that you are all worthy and capable of amazing things. Bye. Can't wait to talk to you soon.